What is going on, everyone? My name is Under the Radar, and welcome back to the PPL. This is the first team builder of the season, and I'm super excited. Not only because of who I'm playing, the team I'm using, I'm just excited for the PPL again. Like I have a whole new drive for the PPL after last season, and I feel like this season is going to be better, like for sure, and I'm hoping to start out with a big win against my first opponent, who happens to be a good buddy of mine, NecroStevo, coach of the Eterna City Enders. He's a really awesome dude, very, very skilled and very knowledgeable of the league format. If there's anybody that's been in more seasons of league than me, it's probably him because of how many he's done at one time. So he definitely knows his stuff. He also has a very scary team to back that up. So let's just go ahead and hop over to the graphics, and we will go ahead and take a look at his team. He has a Garchomp, Mega Blastoise, Gardevoir, Rotom-Mow, Weavile, Magneton, Rhyperior, Primeape, Volcarona, and Golbat. So, looking at his team matchup compared to mine, I think he has a really good matchup, honestly. I think he has probably one of the better matchups. But that's just my personal opinion. Now, whenever I take a look at his main offensive threats, it turns into okay, realistically, what is he going to bring? Because I can't prep for everything on his team with my team. I don't have the switch-ins for it all. I don't have a lot of switch-ins on this team in general. Like, the only things I really want to switch into a lot of hits are Miltank and Togetic. Everything else either has a quad weakness like Celebi, or is Politoed, which realistically isn't bulky, it's just kind of sort of a tank. So I kind of have to think about what are the biggest threats to my team and what do I need to switch in for. And looking at his team, I definitely need switch-ins for Garchomp, Weavile, Rotom-Mow to an extent, Gardevoir to an extent, Primeape to an extent, and Magneton to an extent. Now, those are 6 Mons. He's not going to be bringing all 6 of them. I think he definitely needs to fit Mega Blastoise on the team somewhere that I also need to switch into. So I listed off most of his team that I need to find switch-ins to. The problem is I'm going to be pressured to do it. So the way I'm going to try to build this team is so I can weaken things down, leave one check to his main offensive threats in the back, and be able to whittle down his walls. That way I can sweep him with one specific Mon. You guys should know what it is. But the biggest threats to my team, I think, are Gardevoir, because I have a rain team. He can trace Swift Swim. I have 2 Swift Swim Mons that do a lot to his team. He can trace it and outspeed. Well, he can speed tie with one of them, but can't outspeed the other if I run enough speed on it. Then it comes down to whether or not I think he can afford to bring the combination of Primeape, Magneton, and Rotom-Mow. Because if he brings Primeape, Magneton, Rotom-Mow, Weavile, Gardevoir, that's 5 Mons. Weavile also does a lot to my team because it can hit things with Ice Shard. He needs it as a pursuit trapper for my Celebi if I bring it. It also hits Celebi very hard. He needs something that can knock off Togetic, otherwise Togetic can kind of sort of sit in on some of his threats and just be fat. So I definitely think Weavile's coming, but then he doesn't have Garchomp or Mega Blastoise, so his team matchup is very weird. He has a lot of Mons he can bring that all do a lot to my team, and me finding 6 Mons that deal with everything is very difficult, so I'm kind of just going to rely on whittling things down, getting things in range of Kingdra, basically. Spoiler alert. But the first Mon that I plan to do that with is, in fact, my Mega Scizor. I'm bringing a very, very, very bulky Mega Scizor. This is going to be my main check to Weavile. Weavile cannot 3-hit KO this set. Well, if rocks are up, it can, but if rocks are not up, it cannot 3-hit KO me. And after Stealth Rocks with the 36 EVs in attack plus the Adamant Nature, I OHKO with Bullet Punch. Same goes with Gardevoir, so that's very important. It also does a very unique job of baiting in the Magneton, because every single time I bring this thing in on Weavile or Gardevoir or Primeape, because Primeape takes 50% from Scizor without the defense drops from close combat, it's going to bait in the Magneton so he can trap me in you go for a Hidden Power Fire and kill me. So that means that I get some very key chip damage off on that Magneton, which stops my Kingdra sweep because of the fact that if he is very bulky with a Violate, he can live a Surf in the rain. So I have to get some really good chip damage off on that, figure out what kind of spread it is, and then it'll be much easier to deal with. But because it baits it in, every single time this thing comes in on one of those offensive threats, he can't stay in because he will lose one of them, and that is actually terrible for him. So he has to go into Magneton, try to trap me. So I'm just going to U-turn. Literally every single time I switch this thing into Gardevoir, well, not every time I switch it into Gardevoir, but every time I switch it into Weavile, I'm going to U-turn, and if he kills something and I send this thing in on Gardevoir, I'm going to U-turn again, unless it's like late game and I can just kill it off and be happy. Or if his Magneton has already taken some damage with some stuff. So that's the plan with this thing. Bullet Punch does a lot to his team. Like, the Rotom-Mow doesn't really enjoy taking hits. The Primeape, Weavile, and Gardevoir are all dealt with by Bullet Punch. Primeape, unless it is banded, cannot 2-hit KO me. So actually, if it's Scarfed, it barely 3-hit KOs me. So after one defense drop, Bullet Punch does about 68% minimum. So does a lot of damage to him. One thing that this thing also does is it kind of sort of baits in Mega Blastoise, and that's another thing that I need to get chip damage off on. So if every single time that I send this in on Weavile and he goes into Blastoise because he doesn't bring Magneton, and I get some good U-turn damage off on that, perfect. That is absolutely amazing, because that means that Kingdra's Draco Meteor has a better chance to kill it in the rain. So I really just need this thing for really good chip damage. I do have to watch out for random Hidden Power Fires on some stuff, but that's going to go for every single game in the rain. Hidden Power Fires from Gardevoir, from Rotom-Mow, from Magneton, they're not going to work. And this might be a little cheap of me, but Stevo breeds his teams. The chances of him being able to breed a Hidden Power Fire Magneton or Gardevoir in the time that we go through this are kind of sort of slim. So because we drafted, we have a week, chances of him doing that are kind of sort of slim, so I'm also kind of sort of banking on that. I can't do that with many other opponents, but that's just the nature of the beast. But overall, this thing is just a very good check for a lot of his offensive threats, along with threatening a lot of his walls to get some really good chip damage off of them, and that makes me very happy with it. The next mon that I knew I needed was just kind of sort of a very good offensive check to a lot of his team, because Scizor's kind of a more defensive-ish check that can have offensive capabilities, but this is more of an offensive check in general. It also helps out with Magneton and Rotom-Mow, and that is my Raikou. I'm bringing a SHUCA Berry Raikou this week with Volt Switch, Hidden Power Ice, Thunder, and Shadow Ball. I have the SHUCA Berry with max HP. What this means is that this is if I do not see Magneton. No, hold on, let me rephrase this. If I see Magneton, this is going to be my dedicated lead, because nothing he has wants to switch into this set. If he switches into his Garchomp, I can go ahead and I can hit it with a Hidden Power Ice. I can either pop his Yache Berry, which I definitely think he's bringing, or if he goes for Earthquake and I go for Hidden Power Ice, I can live one, guaranteed, even if he's banded, and that means I can hit him with a Hidden Power Ice, find out what set he is, find out if he's bulky, find out what on earth he could be doing with his Garchomp, have some good damage. And that in turn makes it a lot easier to sweep with Kingdra as well. It also makes it easier for Mega Scizor to revenge kill it, or some of my other offensive mons that I'm bringing this week. Overall though, this thing just hits his team very hard. The only thing that really wants to switch into this is Garchomp. And then after that, things don't really like taking the combination of Hidden Power Ice plus Shadow Ball plus Thunder. Especially if I'm in the rain, Thunder is guaranteed to hit, and it's going to be doing a lot of damage. One thing that I did see in a practice game that I have to kind of watch out for is Pursuit Trapping Weavile. Pursuit Trapping Weavile is kind of a threat, just because if he brings it in after I've taken an EQ, Pursuit does kill me. So I have to be extremely wary of having Weavile come in on this thing and Pursuit Trapping me, but at the same time, I cannot risk him going for the likes of Ice Cold Crash and just killing me outright. So this thing is a massive win condition as well. It lets me scout out a lot of his team, and that's very important for me. The next mon on the team is going to be the main offensive presence of the entire team. Now, I'm not sure if I was able to change the graphics for this one. However, like, I know that on the graphics probably it might say 252 modest 180 in speed. However, I changed it last minute because of the fact that Trace, Swift Swim, Gardevoir is extremely terrifying for my entire team. If he traces a Swift Swim and I run modest, I won't be able to outspeed it. Like, if he runs max speed, Trace, Gardevoir, I'm screwed. So I'm making sure I can outspeed Gardevoir guaranteed with 220, Timid Nature, 252 in special attack and 36 in HP. That's the EV spread I'm running no matter what the graphics say. Just don't pay attention to that EV spread. 220 in speed, timid nature. Now, since I'm able to outspeed Gardevoir, I'm able to check it. If it is down to about 65%, Surf is a guaranteed OHKO because of the Life Orb and Rain and Ow. But then comes the problem of what do I do if somehow I'm stupid and I let Volcarona set up on me for free? And the answer to that is I click X. Realistically. So, at the same time, I was like, okay, what can he set up on with his Volcarona on my team? The answer to that is Mega Scizor. So if he brings it in on a Mega Scizor, I have to make sure I have up Rocks. So Rocks are going to be a very big staple to this entire team, which you will see here in a minute. So if I can get up Rocks, and if he tries to bring it in on Mega Scizor, I can sack something off, or I can send in something to threaten it to attack it, go into this, outspeed it guaranteed because of Swift Swim, go for a Waterfall, and after Rocks, no matter what, it does kill the Volcarona. So that's that check out of the way. Then it kind of sort of comes down to what else he can switch into this and what I need things down to. Mega Blastoise, I need it down to about 50% for Draco to kill because I'm timid, not modest. If I was modest, I need it down to about 63% minimum to be able to kill it. Garchomp, I just need either it's Yachi Berry popped, or I need to know whether it's Rocky Helmet or Leftovers, because Draco Meteor does do more than Ice Beam if it's Yachi Berry, but if it's not, then then Ice Beam does more. Gardevoir, I need it to about 62%. Weavile, I don't really care. It kills it no matter what, even from full. And Ice Shard only does about 30% to me, so if he wants to try to revenge kill me with that, I have to have taken a lot of damage from other things, and I'm not going to send this thing in until late game anyway. This is probably going to be the last mod on the field. Magneton, depending on his spread. If he is like Eviolite with no HP, no Spadef, I need him down to about 88%, because that's how Surf kills. And it's just... It makes the most sense for him to be that weak, you know, because I don't think he'll be bringing a Spadef one. I think he'll be bringing either a Choice Scarf or a Choice Specs or any Violite, like, speedy one. That's just my opinion. Rhyperior, Primeape, and Volcarona, of course, I said I just needed to take Rocks damage, and if it has the +1 Spadef, yep, but if it does not, Surf OHKOs it. So that's where that needs to be, and the Golbat is the last problem that I need to try to figure out. I need it to take Rocks damage. I need it to. I need it to take good Rocks damage, because otherwise, Ice Beam does not kill it with 2 Ice Beams, so it's not a very good switch in. And I know that it's so unlikely, but somebody ran a Sunny Day Golbat in my practice games, and I'm just like, this isn't even serious. Like, that's not going to happen. I already know it, but I need him to take Rocks damage plus to be a little bit worn down, so I kind of need to play offensively. If I see Golbat, I need to try to sort of pressure it as much as possible. So that's basically Kingdra. I'm going to try to use my entire team to weaken him down with Rocks, with Toxic, with Volt switching, with Hidden Power Ice, with U-Turn, Bullet Punch. I'm going to try to weaken everything to the point where Kingdra can come in late game, not have to hit Draco Meteor first, so I can get at least one other kill, and then go from there. But this thing just hits so much of his team so freaking hard. I love it. The next mod on the team is basically obvious. It has to go with Kingdra, and that's my Damprock Politoed. I'm running a Spadef Politoed because I need to be able to have a switch into Mega Blastoise. That's what this thing is. It's a very good switch into Mega Blastoise. If his Gardevoir has Swift Swim, I can still come in on it. And in the rain, Waterfall actually does a decent chunk to it. And again, Waterfall to the exact same reason that Kingdra has Waterfall, Politoed has Waterfall. Does a lot of the exact same thing to Volcarona, and if he decides to Quiver Dance up on me, knowing he can live a Scald, he's not going to be able to live a Waterfall after Stealth Rocks. Toxic is there specifically for the Mega Blastoise. If Mega Blastoise thinks that he's going to have a free switch into this thing every single time, I'm going to wear him down with Stealth Rocks and Toxic, and I can take 2 Hydro Pumps in the rain from Modest Blastoise. So I'm able to take it, get some really good chip damage off on it, live it, and then be able to set up the rain a second time later on in the game if I have to. This thing overall, I don't want to call it a win condition, but it's very important for my win condition. So it's like a pseudo win con, and I like that. The next mon on the team is going to be my Miltank. He has a Weavile. He also has something. Since I have a check to Weavile, I'm like, okay, this thing doesn't really need to be my ice check. However, I had this thing as Spadef with Thick Fat, so I could guarantee kill Volcarona with Rock Slide. However, I only saw Volcarona one time in practice games. I did about 6 of them, and I wasn't too worried with the way it went out. So Fizz Def to help take on the Garchomp. that Garchomp is a massive threat to my team, because if it is offensive, it's going to hurt me. Like, it's just going to. I need to have a good switch into it. I need to be able to set up Stealth Rocks. That's also why I have Ice Punch. That's also why I have Ice Punch. I can pop its Yachi Berry. I can get off some really good damage. I can get some Freeze Hacks maybe. I don't know. I don't want Freeze Hacks on Stevo, but I can get off some good damage on some stuff. It also does a decent little tiny chucklet to Spadef Golbat, forcing him to roost up so I can get in a very good way to hurt it, like my Raikou. Another thing, knockoff on Mega Scizor. That's specifically there for Golbat, because I can live a Heat Wave in the rain, and I'm able to go ahead and just knock off its Violite, and then Kingdra is able to a KO with Ice Beam. But Stealth Rock, Miltank, Earthquake, Ice Beam, physically defensive, mainly for the Garchomp, a little bit for the Weavile, depending on how offensive it is, and if it's like Sword Stance, or if it's... I really think he's going to be bringing Life Orb. But another thing I could see is Natural Gift Fire on his Weavile. So if he is not Life Orbed, he cannot do anything to this. Like, nothing at all. So that's very cool. The final mon on the team is going to be another massive win con, and that is my Tornadus Therian. This Tornadus Therian, it's very unique in the sense that he won't really see it coming to where it's going to do so much damage to his entire team, but he only has one switch into Tornadus Therian, and that is in fact his Magneton. So because he only has one switch into it, which is his Magneton, I'm going to have Hidden Power Ground. I'm going to scout to see what his switch-ins to this are, and then I'm going to be able to kind of sort of scout what set it is by the damage it takes, by the damage it does to my Raikou, which is going to be my designated switch-in to get some good reads on it. And I'm also going to be able to spam Hurricane across his entire team. His whole team does not like it. It does about 40% to physically defensive Mega Blastoise, so that puts it instantly in range of Draco Meteor from Kingdra. Well, just about, after like a U-turn hit. After that it will. And it'll be very important for the entire team. U-turn to gain me momentum, and knock off again for the Golbat, specifically the Golbat. But Hidden Power Ground does a lot to Magneton. If it's just like regular Violet, it does like 88% minimum. So if he takes rocks damage like one time, it's a roll to kill him, and that's really awesome. But I really like the way Torn looks for his entire team. Also, Gardevoir cannot one-shot this thing, so if I have it at a decent amount of health and something is going wrong and he has the rain up and he's Swift Swim, I can hit him with a Hurricane, and it does a lot of damage to him. So that is also another thing to keep in mind with this Tornadus set. Overall though, this team is very offensive. It's very just in your face, get up rocks, Volt turn around until Kingdra can kill everything, and that's what I'm hoping can happen. But that is basically going to be the team. Make sure you guys let me know what you think of the team down below. Also, make sure you check out my opponent's channel, who is NecroStevo. He makes awesome content. I love the dude to death. He has an awesome voice, and I strongly urge all of you guys to go check him out. But with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.